if they engage in this kind of behavior, they will be caught, they will be charged, and they will pay a price.
Now, in your capacity as incoming chair of Homeland Security Committee, will you also find out what the Homeland Security Department did leading up to this? Because later in the show, I'm going to go into the extensive things we have to do, having nonviolent marches in Washington, including last year, that we had to go through with Homeland Security before we could even get a permit. Was there the same kind of protocol, real stringent analysis, layouts, and pre-march, pre-rally?
Let's go on forward here. He goes interviewing this other guy. And I've already listened to part of it. But it was a good interview, and I think my viewers would enjoy it right here.
Joining me now is Congressman Hank Johnson, Democrat of Georgia, and member of the House Judiciary Committee. Congressman, before I go to the Judiciary Committee and the president's incitement of a riot on Wednesday, it overshadowed the incredible wins in your home state of Georgia on Tuesday. What does it say about Georgia that it will send its first black senator and first Jewish senator to Washington? When I think of in the South, blacks and Jews marched together and died together for the right to vote. It comes to mind easily Goodman, Cheney, and Swerner among the martyrs that did that, blacks and Jews together. And now we see a black and a Jew going to Washington from Georgia. What does it say about your home state?
Yeah, it says that the nation has made a lot of progress. It shows that Georgia and the South have made progress. But the announced victory is coming on Wednesday, the 6th, the same day we had a attempted coup in this country, shows us just how far we have to go in this country to achieve the kind of values and vision that the framers of the Constitution envisioned for the country. We can't forget that this country was born in racism. Racism is in the soil of this country. And what sprouted out on Wednesday, on one hand, you had this the results of the Tuesday election, where we've got two new United States senators who have enabled Democrats to control the Senate so that we can start enacting some of the agenda of the Biden-Harris administration, and that's going to be great for the nation. But ominously, there still in the soil of this nation arises the fruit of racism. It displayed itself in the policing that went on at the Capitol. I have no problem with the rank and file police officers who were undermanned. They didn't have the proper equipment. Somebody had put them in an untenable situation. And so they reacted in the only way that they could, but they were met by an overwhelming mob that was sent there. And they were set up the same way that we in Congress were set up. We didn't know until the last minute that we were in danger.
Wow.
It was too late for us to take any action to protect ourselves. And for a while, we were at the mercy of this mob that came with zip ties and hangman's nooses, and it set up a gallows on the Capitol grounds, Reverend Al.
They set up gallows. Let me push you on that. They set up.
In other words, they feel like that they was entrapped like a bunch of animals. And in essence, they really was. The Capitol Police, as well as all the people that was in there conducting business that day. It was an entrapment.
Gallows on the Capitol ground had nooses, had Confederate flags in the Capitol building.
This is nothing but a race war that was about to be unleashed. And had it not been for the gunshot of the one shot fired by that plainclothes officer in the speaker's lobby, right behind the House gallery, right there. If those people had been able to get through, they would have had us who were in the gallery up on the third floor trapped.
Wow.
We would not have been able to get out. And Reverend Al, when they finally got us out of there, we walked past spread-eagled rioters on the floor at gunpoint by the Capitol Hill police officers. As we went down the steps, they had us surrounded up there on the third floor, and if that police officer had not fired and stopped the onslaught on the speakers in the speakers lobby, they would have cut off our escape route. They would have had us upstairs, and I have no doubt that some of us who look like me would have been hanging from the railings of the third floor onto the house floor, swinging like fruit, strange fruit. We would have been swinging from those railings, and I tell you, that's how close it came.
How many members of Congress were there pinned in that third floor that only that gunshot by the plainclothesman stopped that mob from coming through that door and getting to you? How many members of Congress were with you?
I would say somewhere between 30 and 40. They could have had their pick of who they wanted to make an example of. And they came to the Capitol to do business. And the business that they were about was to lynch some people. They talk about Mike Pence, they talk about Nancy Pelosi, but you and I know, Reverend Al, that one of us would have been hanging with them. And
and clearly you don't bring a noose and weapons if you didn't mean business. Let me ask you something. Do you think those GOP members who supported the rioters should be expelled from Congress?
I do, Reverend Al. Representative Mo Brooks from Alabama, the Old South, Old Alabama, George Wallace, Alabama, was up there on at the White House on January 6th, edging and egging these demonstrators towards the Capitol Hill that he does his work in. And he was there when they got there. And it's no telling, Reverend Al, what kind of collusion and communication were going on between the leadership of the mob, the Trump administration, and the defense apparatus that they control and the intelligence apparatus that they control, and the Capitol Hill Police Department at the highest levels, the Sergeant at Arms at the highest level. They saw all of these people advancing to the Capitol. They saw them crash through the barriers, the perimeter. They let them get to the Capitol grounds, the marble of the Capitol. They got them, they saw them walk up the stairs. They allowed them to come inside the door, and nobody warned us. We're in the House chamber doing the business of Congress like sitting ducks. It reminds me of that situation in Alabama that John Lewis used to talk about, where one night after the NAACP and the others had been meeting, the SCLC meeting to plan something, it was nighttime, and the police cut the lights off and let the vigilantes come in, and they themselves took part in it as well. And as a result, that young man, I think his name was Jimmy Lee Jackson, or
Jimmy Lee
I don't
Jackson.
recall.
That's what led
Jimmy
to
Lee
the
Jackson.
March. That's right.
He was killed trying to defend his mother and father. And so that's the situation that occurred on Wednesday, January 6th, in the Congress of the United States of America. It was born of racism. That whole Donald Trump, make America great again, that's racism. Make America, put America back to where it used to be, and put these people in their place, and keep and maintain our lawful place and rightful place. That's what that riot was all about.
I'm going to have to leave it there, but you certainly enlightened our viewers and brought us in that room where you and other members of Congress were basically at the mercy of a mob had there not been one shot fired it might have ended up even more tragic, and 5 people did lose their lives. Georgia Congressman Hank Johnson, thank you for being here. Coming up, Trump's final failure. His supporters got caught up in mob mentality, and now the president's crimes are starting to catch up with him. But first, my colleague Richard Louie with today's top news stories. Richard.
Rev, good day to you. Some of the stories that we're watching for you this hour. Thursday, the United States recorded its deadliest single day of the pandemic. Over 4,000 people died from COVID-19. The U.S. now has over 22 million recorded cases of the virus, and nearly 371,000 have died. An Indonesian Boeing 737 passenger plane went missing over the sea moments after takeoff from Jakarta this morning. A search and rescue operation is underway. Investigators are examining the debris that is found by fishermen. They want to see if it was from the aircraft.